radical Islam has for the West and how they began implementing it. Pumping millions into our universities, infiltrating our government is only a part of this plan. The plan was found in Switzerland in a villa by the Swiss army raiding the villa for an intelligence gathering. The plan was written by the Muslim Brotherhood organization, the oldest Islamic terrorist organization in the world, which Al-Qaeda came out of, and many other organizations came out of Al-Qaeda. Out of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood has 70 offshoot terrorist organizations operating worldwide. The Muslim Brotherhood plan, this document, is a 100-year plan how to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. The document became known in the counterterrorism circle as the project. The project, the Muslim Brotherhood project, was written in 1982. And they discuss specific proposals and tactics as to how to infiltrate and dominate the West. They give examples such as how to set up front organizations, charitable organizations, and human rights organizations in the West as a front to terrorist organizations and to raise money for terrorist activities. How to recruit and put up for office Muslims and get them elected into office and get them involved in government, in universities, at the local level. How to infiltrate the one that relates specifically to the United States. How to infiltrate the Republican parties, the Libertarian Party, the Democratic Party, so you can become a member of these parties, so you can get on the board. Once you are on the board, you have a voting power. How to infiltrate the universities. How to work with like-minded organizations, progressive liberal organizations that share the same goal, so they can help you advance in advancing your goal. Because they know that progressive organizations are into multiculturalism, diversity, tolerance, and they will help you fight your issues. This is why we see the ACLU working with the Islamic lobby hand in hand in trying to advance Islamic activities. For example, the police in LA, in the city of Los Angeles, wanted to monitor certain mosques where we know that cells have been operating and plotting terrorist attacks on temples, on synagogues in LA. As many of you have heard about the, especially if you are involved with the Jewish community, you heard about the foiled plots in LA to bomb synagogues. The police of the city of Los Angeles wanted to monitor these mosques. The Muslim lobby, CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, worked with the ACLU against the police force to shut down the police investigation of these mosques and the monitoring of these cells. This is the perfect example I can give you as to exactly how effective the Muslim Brotherhood plan has been working in the United States of America. It is unbelievable. They talk about starting organization and maintain, not connected with the Islamic world, to maintain a level of moderation, an appearance of moderation. How to get your pundits to get on the air. The details are astonishing. And when you start looking at their implementation, remember this plan was written in 1982. When you start looking how that plan has already been implemented in Europe, which has been basically morphed from Europe into Eurabia, because today we have Eurabia, we no longer have Europe. So when you start looking at, for the last 30 years, how Europe has been infiltrated on every level. And how did they come into Europe? Here it comes. Guest worker program. Yeah, that's exactly how they came into Europe. Europe needed workers. They wanted to build Europe after World War II. They brought these guest workers to work, and they thought, oh, they're working here for 2 years. They're making money. They're going to go. They don't need to assimilate. They don't need to learn our language. And after a while, they realized they need to keep this force, so they decided, let's give them immunity and let's keep them here. They're already here working. As a matter of fact, let's have the family reunification program where they can bring in their families. Europe today is no longer the Europe you remember from 30 years ago. I don't know how many of you have visited Europe lately, but you will be shocked at how Europe has changed. 4 weeks ago, in Britain, which is the greatest ally, strongest ally of the United States in Europe, in Britain, they just instituted and accepted Sharia law as the law governing Islamic affairs in England, operating parallel to British law. So now Muslims living in England in the major Islamic cities come under Sharia law, not under British law. Which means girls in England who are born into British society at 9 years old can get married off at 9 years old, and this is not considered, in our society, in the West, this is considered child molestation, rape, pedophilia. Under Islam, it is not, because this is exactly what Prophet Muhammad did. He married a girl at the age of 6 and consummated the marriage at the age of 9. So under Islamic law, now in Europe, a girl can get married off at the age of 9 years old. So when we look at the United States of America and we start seeing how they are doing this in the United States, how they are infiltrating the society. Well, everybody has been asleep for the last 6 years and focusing only on a military attack. The Muslim Brotherhood has been talking about a cultural invasion, a cultural jihad. Now, in a military attack, we know that they want to attack us militarily. We know our government is prepared. Everybody worldwide is prepared, in Israel, in Australia, in England. We know they're going to attack. Look at the foiled plot in Canada last year. 16 Canadians wanted to blow up government buildings and behead the Prime Minister in Canada. These are born and bred Canadians. But what is contributing to this phenomenon? It is madrasas and Islamic education right here in our homeland. Now, when we talk about madrasas, madrasa is the Arabic word for school. Madrasas, when we hear the word, we think, Pakistan, Afghanistan, we think, that's over there. Well, for your information, we have in the United States 225 registered Islamic madrasas operating in America. Registered, 225. What they are teaching is hatred towards infidels. They are teaching that Christians and Jews are apes and pigs because they are cursed by Allah. They are teaching if there's a Jew behind the tree, go and kill him. The most notorious madrasa, which our government came down on, was the Saudi Academy up in McLean, Virginia, which has been a problem. But they have become so smart that today they are operating charter schools across the United States. One charter school I discussed is the Islamic Academy of Florida, to give you an example how they are using our charter schools not only to teach radical Islam, but to raise money from tax dollars to fund terrorism. The Islamic Academy of Florida in 2003 received $350,000 in school vouchers for underprivileged students in their community to help these students get an education. Mind you, this is from our tax dollars, $350,000. In the same year, a 50-count indictment against the academy was issued by a grand jury saying that the academy was an arm of the Muslim Brotherhood, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. And the indictment said that the academy was raising the money, using the school vouchers to raise money in the United States to send money to support terrorist organizations overseas. So basically, we indirectly have been funding terrorist operations overseas with our tax dollars. While we focused on the military jihad, nobody paid attention to what's happening right under our feet. The carpet is being pulled. It is astonishing. So I began researching this issue as I became very interested in it. After we knew that the jihad, the military jihad is happening, I started looking into the cultural jihad. And I started realizing what is happening in our country. And this is how I found out about the Thomas More Law Center. Up until that point, I didn't know anything about them. And the way I found out about them, I was writing a story about Islam in public schools in the United States. Now, many of you are probably shocked to hear that Islam is being taught as a course in the United States, a 3-week course in many schools across the country. It started in California as a state-approved curriculum. And the Excelsior School, which is an example I use in my book, the Excelsior School taught a 3-week course on Islam where students had to adopt Islamic names, memorize verses from the Quran, and recite verses from the Quran, were encouraged to say the words Allahu Akbar in their regular dialect, were asked to fast for 1 day to experience Ramadan, the holiest month of Ramadan, and write about their experience as pilgrimage going on a Hajj to Mecca. Now, when I started doing this, I couldn't believe my eyes. This is the course that was taught in a public school in the United States as a state-approved course. And when you start reading what they are writing in the course, here's how the course began. From the beginning, you and your classmates will become Muslims. You will be a member of a caravan starting from a trading center on your way to an Islamic city. This is being taught in the United States. And it was only people like the Thomas More Law Center